Foottrading.co.uk is now live and site areas are being rolled out all the time. Icons are live, fluctuations are live, chem styles are live, and you guys will make millions of coins. We've got guys in the Discord that are making tons of coins, selling them, making profit from using the site. Tournament areas are also about to go live for you guys to win competitive prizes. It's going to be absolutely awesome. You'll never need to buy FIFA points again, we guarantee it. So check out the site, but for now, let's get into the video. Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to a new video with me, Fuzzball40. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe down below. I think we gained nearly 1,000 subscribers in the first week or so. So make sure you join the crew and I promise you, we'll help you make millions of coins. Make sure you click that like button and comment. I comment back to every single person. It takes 10 seconds to do all that. Any questions you've got. And if you've got any questions, down below, the link to Twitch. If you want to come over, loads of you have done that so far. Come over and watch what we're doing tonight. We're going to be making coins over there. Come and see what we do. I can help you guys make coins. No problem whatsoever. It will be fairly easy for me to do that because I know what I'm doing and I know how this is going to work tonight. And with that in mind, we're going to talk about tonight in a sort of basic way to explain to you what is likely to happen tonight, okay? Now, I've seen quite a few traders saying, oh yeah, the market's going to plummet on Friday. There's loads of chance to buy into loads of different cards and they're all going to rise, etc., etc., etc. Most of that is nonsense, okay? The general trend for gold cards now, for most of the gold cards on the game, is going to be downwards, okay? That doesn't mean you can't trade tonight, but the general trend is downwards. You'll see in a minute that that doesn't apply to all of them though. The more elite tier meta cards tend to rise at this point before dropping off later on, okay? But what we've had so far, we've had Nike Mad ready, which was meh, obviously in terms of pack supply. No one really minded that. It wasn't terrible, but it just was meh. Then we had Road to Knockouts Team 1, which has given you a really good blanket space to see what cards are done in that time. We've now got Team 2. So this is going to be sort of the third lot of major supply in the market, and this is when things start to change. So we're going to look at multiple places to explain to you guys where you can make coins and how you do it, okay? And the first place that most of you are going to start is on the website, okay? This website, our website, is the starting place and fluctuations. It's going to tell you everything, anything is done for the last 24 hours, plus with our link to FootWiz that we have, of course, we're powered by FootWiz, you'll be able to see what the sales history has been. Now, this is going to help you guys really, really easily work out where cards have gone in the last 24 hours. Because obviously a lot of them are going to bounce back. So if you have the website, go and use this tool. The fluctuations is going to be your friend, okay? It will tell you all the lows, it will tell you all the highs. You'll know what's going on. But we're going to look at a couple of cards to start with. So I've seen loads of people talk about someone like Kolo Muani, okay? Everything you guys now need to know is in Kolo Muani's graphs in terms of what he did and what he's going to do. So if we look at Kolo Muani, right, this was his massive high here. Everyone was talking about him as the starter teams. And he's gradually dipped off his supply. It was last weekend, obviously, we had the first lot of, I guess, Road to Knockout supply. And then he did slowly but surely bounce back, okay? Now, something that's important to know about FootWiz is these prices you see here are an average price. They're an average price. So at certain points on Sunday, he would have been lower than that. Certain points on Sunday, he would have been higher than that. And again, average price on the Tuesday. Most of the time you see things, their low point tends to be after the sort of supply on the Friday, Saturday, and they tend to rise a little bit, okay? But Kolo Muani, this week, everything really at this level, this sort of price range has taken a massive, massive hit. Now, Kolo Muani has bounced back a little bit since then. He's doing all right, and there is some form of demand for him. But would I tell you now to go and invest tons of your coins in the likes of Kolo Muani? No, not at all. Now, let's say tonight he does get down to 22, 23k. If you're sniping him at 19, 20, fine, you'll make profit off of him. But that's the way you've got to get these cards on a decent undercut. You can't just buy them at their lows because these cards aren't really scheduled to rise back up again. We know that from last week. We see that now in the graphs from last week. It doesn't mean you can't buy them, but for cards that are sort of 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70k, they're not really going to see a giant boom suddenly tonight. The demand is the demand. We've seen it now for 2 weeks. We know which cards are really like sought after and which ones aren't, okay? Moussa Diaby is a card that I've looked at a lot as well. And again, if we look at his daily graph, he hit the high again around that 25th of September mark, dipped down massively by it last Sunday, and then bounced back. But again, we're not talking gigantic bounce backs here. We're talking decent bounce backs. But what you need to know about the sort of gold cards is that over time, they stop bouncing back to the same level. So Diaby might get down to 46k again today, but there's no guarantee he gets back to 53k again. Now, he might go up higher. People might be like, actually, I can now afford a Diaby. But most people have now been able to afford someone like Diaby in their team because we're 2 weeks into the game now, people have got coins. So you'll probably be looking for a bigger drop off than this. Again, doesn't stop you from sniping or getting bids and undercuts and whatnot. You can do that and you will make coins. but don't go and throw 500k into Diaby just because you dropped to 46k like last week, because there's not a guarantee he's going to jump back again. Griezmann. Look at Griezmann. One of the best cards on the game in most people's opinion. 100k. I guarantee you if this card had a bit more pace, it would not be 100k. He'd be much more expensive. And again, he's a bit of a different one. Everyone was sort of saying Griezmann was good, he was decent and whatnot. And then there was this hype around him. And what he actually did was rise and rise and rise and rise. So what does that tell you? Number one, there's demand for him. But number two, there is a lot of risk. Because prior to everyone saying that he was a great card, he was 80,000 coins worth. And he sort of bucked the trend to a certain degree this week. He's held his price quite well. Forget this, it's an anomaly. He's held his price quite well. So, could you buy Griezmann? If you want to punt on Griezmann, you potentially could. But again, you wouldn't want him anywhere near the 100k mark. You'd want him quite a bit further down than that. Again, none of these gold cards are realistically that strong an investment. But we're going to look at Neymar from last year. Neymar, obviously, one of the most meta cards in the game. And if we look at Neymar, got down to low point. This is where Road to Knockouts basically was starting. And Neymar gradually rose. Because what happens is if people open up packs, they get tons and tons of coins, loads of coins. And then that means they can then go and buy the more meta players, the better players on the game. So those sort of guys will rise and they will go up in value, okay? Now, I'm not saying that Neymar this year is going to rise because of the Saudi League, but anything that is over 150k, 100, 200k, they're the sort of places you want to be thinking about. You can buy those cards relatively safely, but really the only ones that are really, really safe are higher than that. But most of you guys might not have those coins, okay? So what do you guys do instead? So I'm going to show you what I did yesterday. I talked to you guys about it in the video. And I talked about silvers, okay? And I said that if you wanted to invest in them, tomorrow was going to be the play. So these are silvers, these ones are just the duplicates that I bought of the guys that I bought yesterday, okay? If I show you my club now, if we go to silver and I look at the league, Premier League, I've got page after page after page that I sniped last night. You've got, who else? We've got Syria, page after page after page that I sniped last night. Bundesliga the same. The only league I didn't really snipe was Ligue 1 because it was just a bit too competitive for me to be bothered to do it. So I just was like, nope, I'll leave that one for now. And so most of these cards picked up a discard price, okay? There is no risk in silvers if you can get them that cheap. I don't know what they're at the moment. They shouldn't be much more than that because we had so much supply. I'd be very surprised if they're anywhere above that, really. There you go. 250. Like you can still pick cards up at 200 coins. Like, he's sitting there chilling, okay? Some people are going to have held on to their marquee matchup packs yesterday. They're going to come down in price and you're probably going to pick most of these cards up at discard price. If you're low budget, it is a no-brainer. All it takes is a half-decent daily SBC if EA choose to drop one and they're all going to rise, okay? So low budget for you guys, that works really well. No harm at all. If you're really low budget, that's what you can work with. What's also going to happen tonight is we're going to get mad amounts of supply onto the market of every single card that is on the game. So for those of you guys that have been chem style trading, you would have known that this week, because of the lack of supply, people sort of got worn out after a few days of Road to Knockouts. A lot of the hunter filters were very difficult to get cards from, okay? And so when you're sitting there sniping now, it's a lot more difficult to get these snipes. As you can see, the soonest on the market is 46 minutes for 1,200 coins. Now that Coquelin's actually probably a buy, to be fair. But tonight, everything's going to drop in price. And what happens with that is that the hunters follow those cards down. So people, let's say for example, try and give you a really, really good example of a card that I think is very decent. Sort of that 3-4k range. It's a difficult one. Try and think of a really, really good example. He's actually probably a bit more expensive, but we'll look at someone like Gabriel Jesus for now. He's obviously more expensive than that, but we'll look at Gabriel Jesus. So Jesus is what, 14k, whatever, he's 7k there. Actually, Jesus is probably a good example. You probably want the cards that are more 3 and 4k, but it's not too bad. If we look at someone like Gabriel Jesus, he is cheap, like, again, 7k. People are still using this card, 6.7k. What will happen tonight is he's 84 rated, he will get supplied quite heavily, and what you'll see is what we're seeing there. Some of the hunters will sit at the same price as the min price he is selling for, okay? So let's say Gabriel Jesus tonight got down to 5k, more than feasible for him to do. What will tend to happen is that people will then list up their Jesuses with hunters on at the same price, and a lot of them will sit. You guys can buy those cards, hold them for maybe 12 hours once the supply dries up, and then you can start to list your hunters, and you'll get a decent bit of profit, okay? Hunters, shadows, even anchors. If you can get anchors at discard price, which you can get on any midfielders or defenders, you're not going to make a loss. It's going to be a really simplistic, easy way for you to trade. So if you can get any gold rare defender, especially if they're major leagues with anchors on them, they're going to go up. The reason this happens is because hunters, shadows, anchors, they all have a value. They're quite expensive consumables. So they all have a value, and most people tend to realise that, so they start to buy them up again. So people search Gabriel Jesus with a hunter, and he might be 500 coins more. And they start to buy that one up. Then someone buys the one that's slightly more expensive, and they rise in value. They end up a bit higher than they were at 6 p.m. Okay? So that's a really decent way for you guys to make coins very, very easily. I did it last week. And really, you're looking at anyone that's sort of, for this, 4k and below is a really, really solid place to be. If you can get them at 2k and below, 3k and below. Someone like Georgia Stanway is someone that I've done quite a few times now. I'm going to ruin it for myself by saying it. But Georgia Stanway is a card that is very usable. No one really cares that much about her now because the game's moved on. But someone like Stanway, if we look at her shadow gap, if you look at that, there you go. 2,700 coins for her shadow gap at the moment, okay? Now, if you look at her standard price, I think she's come right down. She has. She's 1,200 coins. Even this anchor, though, to be fair, that's actually right. She's 1,200 coins. That's basically the min price of Stanway anyway, because she's an 84 rated. So most of the people don't really care about these cards anymore, but there will be people getting the game, there will be people building teams, and some of these cards will still get used. So you guys can pick them up relatively easily. You've not really got too much of a risk when it comes to buying this card. If Stanway gets down to 1,500 coins with a Hunter and Shadow, that's a guaranteed buy. It's guaranteed profit. You're not going to make a loss on it. It's not going to happen. And some of the women's players are the best ones to go for that. The women's players, they have less of a demand, so they sort of get packed really easily and they just sit on the market. They come down really quickly. Once the demand picks up, they then sell, okay? They're really, really easy ways for you guys to think about it if you've got a low budget. So think about those sort of cards. Stanway, for example, players just like her. And then if you've got a really high budget, I'd be looking at icons tonight. So Ashley Cole, this is him from last year. This is his mid from last year. You've got his baby from last year. We're going to look at his mid first. And again, if you look at him, go up and up and up. And then his low point gets close to sort of that road to knockout point at 185k, all right? And then slowly but surely, he gets back up again and ends up at sort of 202k, okay? They're going to go up once they drop off tonight if they are remotely meta. If they're half decent, again, follow the same rules that you're following when it comes to any gold card. Again, you know that the icons that people care about, the icons that people don't care about. But again, got low then. He actually dropped off a little bit further, Cole, but he did eventually bounce back quite nicely. So from a 191 low to a 218 low. Again, remember, these are average prices. So on a Friday at 196, doesn't mean he stayed at 196. He would have been lower than that at points and possibly higher than that at points. If you've got the website, all of that will be there for you. So you haven't got to worry about that at all. It will show you every single thing you need to know. It will give you the percentage away from the low point that these cards are. So it will tell you they're lower than where they were. They're a lot lower than where they were. You can utilize that data. But icons can be good if you're really high budget. And by high budget, we're talking that sort of million coin plus mark. That's what you can go with. You can probably make yourself an easy 100k tonight just by buying a few icons, really. As long as they drop off enough, that's the sign to buy. So that's really it. Let's sum it up and make it really simplistic. Those guys that are lower sort of cost, below that sort of 60, 70, 80k mark, the trend is gradually down. Doesn't mean you can't buy them tonight, but rely upon snipes and bids to get them quite far below. If you can buy them with hunters and shadows, that will help a little bit to minimize your risk. Once they slightly bounce back, that's your time to get out. Simple as that. If you're low budget, you were looking at all the low tier cards with the hunters and shadows. Even me with over 1 million coins, I might do that tonight because I think that could be quite a good return on investment for me. So you're looking at those low budget guys that you can see sit there, hold very little value initially, and then they boom and spike and you make very good profit from it, really easy. Buy into silvers, hold them, they will go up in price within the next few days. Just chill on them for now, really simplistically. And if you're high budget, the big metas are where the money is at. These are the guys that are most likely to rise. The Neymars, Mbappe obviously, but no one's buying an Mbappe as an investment. Those sort of guys. And you can also look at Team of the Week too. They're going to be at their lowest point tonight. They're going to bounce back from there. So Kante could be a good option. Talisca, if he gets low enough, he's an 84 rated inform. You could buy a few of him. They're the guys that you want to care about. They're the guys that are going to make you coin, all right? But if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe down below. Make sure notifications are turned on so you never miss an upload. But for now, I'm out. Peace out. I'll speak to you soon.